you're on the ball. So let's just redo that whole intro. So today's topic is creating content that converts, and thank you guys for joining. I know with working with clients and creating content for ourselves and for client that it takes time to create content, and the struggle is knowing how to create content that's going to work long term and convert for them, because we're creating content to build a relationship and also to drive results, right? So we just want to talk together on some of the things that are working for you guys in creating that content that is converting. So April, do you want to start and share some of your, first introduce yourself and then talk about some of your tips for creating content?
Sure. So hello, everybody. Thanks for coming today. My name's April Woodcock, and I have a business called Touching Clients. We're located in Connecticut, and we do digital marketing for small to medium-sized businesses. So on varying levels of education and management of, we actually do a lot on the email marketing automation side for clients. So in terms of content, I think one of the biggest things is being consistent with content. I find that, as you're working with clients and as you're working with small to medium-sized businesses, their web has so much content. However, the lack of consistency because we're too busy working in our businesses or just it kind of gets put to the bottom of the to-do list. However, like Mike does a great job. He puts out a ton of content. Like I think I might get even like 2 to 3 emails a week of different blog posts from Mike. So he does a really great job of sharing that content. I think consistency is the biggest thing, and having that plan to get started of topics. And I think it's a lot easier than people originally think too, because if you're using the right tools to follow the latest trends, you can easily write something pretty quickly, anywhere between 300 to 450 words. Believe it or not, that goes by quickly. So you can put out content quickly. However, in our businesses too, we have sales cycles. So you already have, like we're going into the last quarter, right? So for me, I'm always thinking about how you can close your business, preparing for the holidays, right? So prepping for the holidays to close those sales, or looking for the new year in terms of business planning. So if you really look at your sales cycle, you can have a plan in place where you can be consistent with content. So kind of just some beginning thoughts on sharing content and using it. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, thanks, April. I guess I'll introduce myself as well then. So Mike Gingerich, and I'm the podcaster who's known as Halftime Mike, trying to bring you some digital goodies every Thursday. And I also president of Digital Hill Multimedia. We're a web software development company. We've developed the TabSite app for contests. So I do, as April said, just, a load of content. And I think if I try to break it down, you got to have a strategy. And I think you have to get ahead of the game. So if you always feel like you're fighting to plan, what should I do this week? You're not far enough ahead. You got to map it out, and it has to strategically align with your business objectives. And so therefore you need to, back up and plan it out a little bit further. That's some real big picture, backing up, and it doesn't have to be hard. I like to map things out in a Google spreadsheet, so I can just, I can map out dates, what my title is, and when I want that to launch, a few notes about it. And I can just kind of keep a running total. I use a Google sheet just so I can access that anywhere, anytime on any device. And, that's my starting point, is a strategy, saying how's it all going to fit together with, our, marketing objectives and where we want to go. How can these things help? What are topics of interest? And then, that kind of gets me into how can I be a resource? I think that, creating content that converts, you have to be thinking about being a resource, solving problems. People are out there, they want to know answers. They're searching for those. You need to tie into that. And then we can drill down into some of the details of, how you do that. But right. That's my starting point, big picture, backing up. All right.
Yep. That's good. And you hit, it doesn't have to be complicated, but you do have to have a strategy and a plan before you get started. And Jessika Phillips, now Marketing Group, Relationship Marketing System. And my biggest tip is knowing who you're writing to and the level that they're at, because you can be helpful and you can build thought leadership on a multitude of different subjects, but you think about who you're writing to. So knowing your buyer personas ahead of time, that helps you know kind of what they care about the most, what their big picture goals are, and how they want to get there, and then how you can break your content down to help them reach it. So we try to plan it out for different levels, try to meet them where they're at for each buyer persona. We try to plan out each different level of content, whether it's a beginner and for, a specific industry like healthcare or manufacturing, how they're going to approach, social media and marketing a little bit differently, and who is going to be on the receiving line of the content and the kinds of things that they're going to care about. Similar to you, Mike and April, I plan out our content in Trello, Trello.com, and it's free, and I'll put the link in here. But what this allows me to do, similar to a Google spreadsheet like you use, Mike, we can plan out our blog ideas all in advance for the year, but then I can also assign buyer persona tags to it. So I know who is receiving each piece of content and who it's written to. So that way I don't play favorites, kind of if I write all kinds of articles targeting healthcare and then forget, the manufacturing, or write everything about my favorite, platforms and forget about some of the other things that the buyer personas are going to want. So we plan it out for a year and then can attach kind of our finished pieces to and notes around each blog to the Trello boards, and you can share it. So if you're working with clients on that, you can share the Trello boards with them. But that's really helpful for us internally to kind of plan it out and map out content.
Yep.
I think that's a great point, Jessika, because I think in terms of anything with content, like we use a project management system, but it's called Red Booth. And I know like Mike uses Asana. I'm not sure if you're still using Asana, but, and I believe Trello's I've used Trello in the past, but being organized about that plan is key to success. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's huge. But then, we talked about identifying our audience, knowing who we're writing to, and being consistent. Now, how do you guys plan out kind of your blog topics? How do you know what to write, like what people are wanting? Do you use any tools specifically?
I think listening, we use a variety of listening tools. So we're monitoring, I'm a huge fan of Hootsuite on the social side. And so I listen, I follow specific hashtags to see what people are talking about. Plus just from my regular clientele and where I do a lot of presentations, the questions that come up, those are usually because the questions typically, don't get me wrong. There's questions where I'm like, that's a great question. I haven't heard that before. So that's a great blog topic. But then there's the kind of the typical questions that you get over and over, which I definitely think are great blog topics to share with people. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I think that I think I keep it simple as well. A lot of mine is from social listening, not with some kind of intentionality, just because I'm on social media, so I'm following people on Twitter, and I'm also, then using my Facebook news feed. For me, that's yeah, you're gonna be back. So that my Facebook news feed, I'm also I'm watching, I'm listening in those types of pieces, and then particularly on my blog posts with clients. Oh, there he is. With my clients, I'm also listening to the questions that come in on the website. So what questions are people asking? So if I send out a email marketing newsletter and I get some questions back, I'm noting that. Is there, no problem, Jessika. And how is the pooch today?
Oh, he's good. He's a pain in the butt. Sorry.
He was excited. He wanted his lap.
Well, I didn't come home and walk him right away back to the house. So that's why he's like, wait a minute. He's nudging. His head was on my lap the whole time, nudging me. And I'm like, go away. Sorry.
I know how to get her attention.
Yeah. Who let the dogs out? That's a good one.
Yeah.
No, what I was saying was a lot of it's listening, for me, and then answering questions. But I always try to think of, when I get one question, can I answer it to a whole bunch of people by, turning that into some type of content, so that's key for me is listening to what clients are asking, what people are calling in about, what they're posting on the blog. what they respond to via email, and then, thinking through that, and then also trying to, always be aware of what's trending, what's happening online, and so what might be valuable.
No, that's a good point. I've used Hopsy before, so I can see what's trending, like on Twitter, for those real-time posts. But I don't know about you guys. Like, how do you find that balance of writing like what's real-time posts, things you have to crank out right away, because it's, like Blab, for example, that's, become a big topic, that the people that were first to the punch on, the ebooks on Blab and the special features are getting a ton of traffic right now. But what about, some of the evergreen content too, finding that balance? So how do you prioritize or, stay consistent with your, the emails that are going out weekly and the real-time posts that you're pushing out?
Yeah. I know for me, I'm looking at the long-term approach first and foremost. And so I'm using what I've scheduled and planned out. And, but then there will be times, like I did a post on Blab, end of August, beginning of September, somewhere right around there kind of thing, because it was, it was coming out, there were things happening with it. So I interjected that one in there, but I don't do that on a regular basis. I might interject something, maybe once a month. It doesn't happen a lot, maybe it's once every 2 months kind of thing, but otherwise it's that planned, scheduled content that aligns with my, business goals.
Yeah,
Right.
I've used also like HubSpot, and I posted a link up here, has a topic generator tool. So if you know that you really want to be found for, let's say, search engine optimization, and you're like, I want to make sure that our site comes up for that, you can plug in different topics and HubSpot's blog topic generator, and it'll give you a lot of different ways of going about that specific keyword. And you can also put in like who you're trying to target, and it'll give you blog ideas for that. So I use that quite a bit as another resource of planning out some of the ongoing pieces of content.
Do you have to be a subscriber to HubSpot in order to use that tool? Oh, you don't? Oh, great.
We don't.
I think for me, and just kind of my recommendation is taking on what you can handle too. So I think that from like an email perspective, I used to be I said, I'm going to do these weekly. And I found weekly was too much. So when you're planning out that content and really want to get those results, I think you need to make it manageable for yourself too, and set your expectations, where you're sending out a monthly email or you're posting your blog monthly, and then maybe you're gradually increasing that and sticking in those other posts as they're timely, because I think sometimes that's where businesses fail in organizations, because they say, hey, I have this great plan and we have great ambitions, but business and life gets in the way. So making sure that you can actually handle it, because you're better off posting monthly or every other weekly than saying you're going to do it, basically promising on what you're delivering so your audience gets used to it, because we are creatures of habit, and we like to, I look forward to certain blog posts that come out and certain emails. So I think that's really important too.
And that's hitting on a good point. So we talked about how we create it and what we go about. So we need a plan. We need to know who we're writing to, and we have to think of our titles in advance and plan them out. Now we have our content created. Now, how do we push it out in order to convert? Like now it's going to live on or I think a big piece is living on our own website, right? Don't build your house on borrowed land. Have it on your own website, so there's a place for people to go back to. But then what's the next step? There's a post in here. It says, as an author, I have a ton of content. How would I offer my stuff to others to use? So Mike, I'm going to have you start on this one, because you have a great approach on your own website. If people would go to it, maybe you can paste the link in the comments here and they can see it in action. And April, you do as well. But talk about then how you take your content from living on your website to making a conversion happen.
Yeah. So, I think that, back to that question, that if you're an author, how would I offer my stuff to others to use? As Jessica said, I think you always want to come back to making sure it's readily available on your own website. So I think that's key, is finding ways to break down your items into little bite-sized pieces. If there's ways that you can repurpose content, maybe that you have a post and you can kind of do a video review of that and talk about that. but also then think of a resource. Can you put together some of those pieces into a resource for people? Is it some type of ebook? Is it a video resource, that type of thing? So then that's talking about an opt-in. So make sure your site has some type of lead capture strategy. So let's say you've got a new blog post and you want to get that out. So you'll share that out to your social channels. And if you share that out on Facebook and Twitter, maybe on your Facebook page, maybe that's going to drive some traffic back to your site. When they come back to your site, you want them to see that post, but you also hopefully want to introduce them to some other things. So maybe I use a opt-in box, and so it's called Opt-in Monster, and it has exit intent sensitivity. So as someone is getting ready to move their mouse off, like they're going to move to a different tab in their browser, something like that, I have a pop-up box that comes up and offers them a free resource. Hey, do you want to sign up for our, weekly email, any of our new posts, or do you want to sign up for this free resource, that type of thing? So it's offering something of value that is intriguing at the point where they've, gotten some of your content and getting them on that list. And so if it's maybe a free ebook resource, I want that to be of value to them. And I'm going to follow that up with, maybe another email later on to them that says, okay, here again was the link to your resource. To make sure you don't miss any of our future content, you want to sign up to receive all the new posts via email. And so I'm trying to get them active on my email list. And so I think that's key, so that they can be aware of all of your content, but then you can build a relationship with them. So that's what's key in lead capture.
Relationship is that key operative. I see in the comments here, it says, does that really work? I hate those. You have to earn permission first. That's why the free good stuff that you're putting out on your blog and your social media, the free good tips that you're giving out, to earn permission and trust, where people are going to say, I trust you, and I know you're offering valuable, good pieces of content that's helpful to me. That's where it goes back to understanding your buyer persona, to then say that this person is going to want to download the next dive in deeper segment. And they're looking at it as, how many of us, have subscribed to other newsletters that are really helpful and know some of the thought leaders in the space, because they've earned permission to advertise to us, and we say, we don't want to, your stuff is so valuable, we don't want to miss anything else. So you sign up for their next step download to get an edge up on that problem or that goal that you're trying to solve, or that thing that you're trying to reach. And that's where it doesn't become where those, I hate those things. You don't want to offer that opt-in box right away before you've earned it. But once they've dived in deep to your content, then you can say, if you liked this, you'll love this. Here's dive in deeper. And then they appreciate those emails, like April, you said, I get 2 a week from Mike, that you're reading and you're enjoying because it's good stuff.
Right.
Now, April, what else? I know you do this too. You're offering these valuable sources for your content.
I think of that. Sure. I think a valuable resource to build some expertise is SlideShare. I think that it's an underutilized tool. I think SlideShare is a great way to share your brand and also get people to connect with you there. You can also have an opt-in as well for people to join your email list. Another place is LinkedIn. Because a lot of us are so social, and LinkedIn is usually LinkedIn is one of those places where most business professionals have some kind of profile or presence. Use your content there, share it, post it to your profile. Also, I like Triber. Triber is another place where you can share some blog, and it's another way to get your name out there. I think, like what you're, to your point, Jessika, where you're talking about building trust. Obviously we want to drive these people back to our website, but the more that we can kind of spread our love and our knowledge out there and get our brand and our information out there, the more it's going to pay it forward. And eventually that traffic will come back to our website and build that email list. I think one of the things too is making sure you do have that kind of RSS setting on your blog as well, as you're having people. Give them opportunities to not only join just your newsletter list, have them join other lists. So have multiple lists that people can join. So if they want to follow your blog, or if they're interested in your newsletter, have choices, because not everybody, different timing. So if you have a blog that comes out once a week, maybe they want that once a week, or maybe it's your monthly newsletter that comes out monthly. I think from an audience perspective, people need to kind of make choices on their own terms too. And it will help kind of branch out being able to share that information. But I'm a huge fan of SlideShare, and I do think it's completely underutilized. I think you can take a blog post, create a visual, load your document, and there's so many opportunities to share, and you'd be surprised at how much gets viewed on there. And the other thing too, it's connected to your LinkedIn profile, so you're kind of getting double whammy for your content share there.
And they have an embed code. We use it for one of our clients that has more visual story to tell. They are a restoration company, and they restore historical buildings, and they use SlideShare to show their projects in action, where, some of the technical stuff that they do, some people may not be as interested in, but they want to see the pictures and the process and the branding and show the work that they can do. So they use SlideShare for that, and then take the embed code and put it onto their website. And then it's also on the sales reps' LinkedIn profiles, like you made mention to. And then we can also, LinkedIn is a very underutilized, the posting part of LinkedIn, not the posting as your social post, but the actual posting, writing your blogs is a great resource, like you said, because you reach more people that maybe haven't seen your website yet. And then just remember, though, at the end of your LinkedIn post to put a call to action at the end so they can subscribe and get more information from you, or, encourage them to follow you on LinkedIn. But the key point is when you have them there and they've already started reading and resourcing your content, keep them in the loop. Like you said, April, find out where they're hanging out, give them options to stay connected to you in a way that they feel most comfortable. And I love the saying that I heard from Warren Peterson. He said, the more present you are, the bigger your presence is perceived. So it's a way of saying, the more that you're hanging out in all these the social platforms and where your audience is hanging out, the more your presence is perceived. So the bigger, and they're like, man, this person's everywhere, and they have more opportunity to see your content.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that, are you guys familiar with Mark Schaefer's new book, Content Code?
Yes, great read.
Yes.
And, he makes a great point there that there's some content overload. I mean, there's so much content that you could be reading. There's so much. So a lot of it is the effort that you then take in amplifying, magnifying your content, in sharing it. And he also kind of makes the case that you need to do a little bit more of, you need to stand out, you need to stand above. So there are things you need to do with your titles and with your writing that can help you, stand apart. There's a percentage out. I don't know if I can put my finger on it right now about, how many people skim headlines and skim the title, I should say. And, and that's going to be the determining factor in terms of whether they actually click through or not. Yep. So that title has to really capture, has to really communicate, and you need to spend practically as much time crafting a good title as maybe the next 600 words that you write in the article, and maybe it's only going to be a 600 word post. So I'm saying that you got to really take time to think through that, and what's going to be something that might capture the attention of people. So that's the battle. I mean, you can have the best content, but if no one sees it, did it make any noise?
Right.
So you've got to get them there, and a lot of times, titles. Jenny's saying 80% is the success factor. So
I believe that for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. And there's other things that you can do with your content too. I mean, because that's writing it, making sure that people see it is half the battle, but then making it searchable and want to be clickable is the finishing, taking them to the finish line with content of converting. So you said that headlines is one. What's another tip?
Yeah. So when you're writing web copy, I mean, you got to think differently than anything you were taught in college. I'm kind of even in high school. I'm going through that with my daughter right now because
get everything else you learned.
She's writing the English honors class work, and then she's also doing a little bit of blogging, and she wants me to take a look at a blog post before it goes live, and I'm ripping it up. She says I'm worse than her teachers, kind of thing. But I'm like, this is totally different here. You can't write that way. And I do that with clients as well. I have clients that they're writing content, and then we're digitizing it. We're making it digital friendly for them. And so I'm taking a look at their title, but then I'm taking a look at subtitles. I'm breaking it down. What are the categories? And so I'm using a little technical, but I'm using H2, H3 tags. So I'm using the subheadings. My title is going to be my key component. Then I'm thinking of what are the subpoints. Those kind of reinforce what the title was, but they also help that skimmer. So when that skimmer goes down through my article, I want them to get a sense of the entire article. If they don't read the content, but all they do is read the title and the subtitles, they should be able to get that. And I'm going to finish it off and seal the deal with them by giving them some bullet points along the way. So I got titles, I got subtitles, subheadings for each section, and then I'm breaking down into some bullets, and then I'm using bold at key times, particularly if I have something that's maybe a paragraph that's 4 sentences. I'm not really going over 4 sentences hardly in a paragraph. I'm keeping them short and sweet, but maybe if I do, I'm going to even bold a section in that because I'm trying to keep them interested. I'm assuming there's the potential to glaze and to move on. And so, every piece, every section, I'm trying to give them something to capture to stay with me. And so, again, titles, subtitles, bullets, sections, bolding, those are keys. And then I'm using images as key points along the way as well. That's a load. How about that?
Really helps break it up. Yeah, and I just added a couple links in the notes section here on things that I've used to help along with those to remember all of that, because the meta description, the alt text, the title tag, your description and making sure that it's good. I don't know if anyone else in here has used SEO Yoast before, but it's a great helpful tool to help you know what you've reached as far as success on social or SEO. And then also marketinggrader.com is a free HubSpot resource. You can grade your website and see how search friendly it is right now and what your website score is today out of 100 possible points. And it grades you on the things that Google's looking for. So does it have SSL? Does it have a blog? Does it have social media integration? What kind of SEO are you adding to your website? What are you showing up for? So that part's really helpful as well. Great. What about you, April? What else do you use?
I think from the point of view, less is more. So readability is key on a blog post. I think focused and like Mike brought up great points of using bullets for readability. Plus, I think from a relational standpoint is how you're going to create good content. So people, I think as you're reading, the more you can put your own personality and put visuals of what you're talking about so people can relate to it are going to make more of a difference. Can you hear that? I'm really sorry. Can you hear my background noise?
Stuff happens. Gosh. You're good.
Sorry. Oh gosh. If it's not that, it's my kids. No. And he's outside, I promise. I think visuals are key. Like visuals draw people in, and including those in your blogs, and then obviously labeling them. But I know some of the tools that I like is Snagit when I'm taking a visual. If I'm, like I wrote a recent blog post about integration with Hootsuite and Instagram. So really kind of walking through that process and putting that in your blog post, I think captures people's attention. And also, from a word, sometimes people are afraid to write and are like, well, what do I say? But if you can create a visual that can replace some of your text as well, obviously you need a certain amount of words for SEO purposes, but I think that visuals definitely can go a long way. Just make sure that you're naming them, and Yoast is a great tool, but make sure your naming conventions are on your images as well for searchability on the web as well. But I would say short, focused, and visuals that are relationable, because I think they definitely make a world of difference.
Right. And you had a great point on making sure the personality of the author is in the blog post and that you're talking to someone. And I'd say write like you're writing an email to someone, or that you're sending a message to them, not like you're writing for a local AP news newspaper, and making sure that you're talking to individuals, and then making sure that there's social share links in your post, because if the more people that see it and love it and that it's shareable, the more that you're going to have a chance of converting it. So making sure that you have some social sharing tools in your blog. And then the best visuals that we've found is the ones that you create yourself. So the ones that you can have that are your own visual pieces, because I've seen often, and we're guilty of this too, we've used a stock photo before, and then we see it on other people's posts and their ads, and we're like, wait, that's my photo. Oh no, it's 10 million other people's photo, the more that you can create your own nice, images. And I've used this where I've went out and you're traveling and taken some pictures just of nice scenic little, areas or just things that are happening in your office, and using those to incorporate and tell the story in your blog is key. So just always, we have cell phones so accessible now that we can just take a lot of images and fine tune them and make them stand and stand out in our blog. So,
and I think one of the big things too is that kind of
definitely.
going back to the voice of your and tone of your blog. I think that we resonate with people that have similar personalities. So there might be, and I'm sure all of us that are here can attest to, I might read a blog and I'm just not interested in that tone. Like they might be, very hardcore, or maybe they're just not getting to the point. So I think the more that you can have that personality of who you are. So if I'm reading what you're writing and I meet you in person, that it's very similar. And it goes along with the whole branding, like from your blog to your brand, it should be very relational. And I think that's really important. And I think that you'll find, especially as you're like, if you follow social media experts, there is a following for each one. And so like some follow Mari Smith, some follow Kim Garth, some follow Amy Porterfield, and they probably all follow a little of each of them, but they tend to go towards one of them more than the other based on their personality and the information they provide and how they're providing it. So I think that's a really important piece as well.
Yeah, I'm a Marcus Sheridan person and Gary Vee. Like, I just love that direct kind of straight up motivational where you leave. Not sure if you're going to run up a flight of stairs or write a blog. I don't know, but their approaches. But that's a really good point with the conversational tone and finding your personality. And that's why you can get your team involved too with creating content, because each one has their own tone of voice. So we use that here where each of our team members get involved in writing the content, because we all do write different and we all do have different personalities. Even though we're writing on the same types of pieces, it's going to resonate with other people well. That's a great point, April. That was good stuff. And I see Canva mentioned in the comments, and yes, I love Canva. Canva for work is awesome too. So I know we're kind of wrapping up on our time here, but I want to open it up for questions. So do any of you have questions on content and how to create content that converts, or about any of the tools or anything that we've mentioned?
I think while we're waiting for some questions here, one of the points that I'll emphasize again is how you need to have some strategic images inside of your content, and hopefully things that can so if you are creating your images, I think there's importance to also have a little bit of your branding on those images, that type of thing, and to be able to share those out, because that's something that you can share on Pinterest and on Twitter. There's more retweets for images. And so finding your image with some of your branding on there that can bring them back to that article that helps illustrate it a little bit is another way it ties it in. You're trying to create that funnel and always allow people to know the source of the content so they can come back to it, and that they make it easy for them to share, to amplify it themselves.
That's great. What tools? I know we all use Canva and love Canva here. Do you use any other tools to creating visuals? I've used Pinwords for Pinterest. I've used Canva, deposit photos. And actually, I'll share a link in here of different tools that we've used. But you used any others with creating that visual content? I know there's like Infogram too, to create infographic pieces of content that's really easy to create.
Honestly, I've kind of narrowed it down. I'm kind of a Photoshop and Canva kind of guy. So those are some of the keys. That I've got some templates. I got some patterns set up, things that I do within those, and that, I can drop a little half transparent overlay and a logo on an image, and, quickly capture the title or capture an essence of something, and just kind of, magnify it that way. But those visuals take up real estate in the feeds, and they really make a difference in the way your content can capture people, can communicate to people, and how many shares it gets.
Great. Hey, Jenny, I see you're on here too. See some familiar faces. Jenny, do you have anything that you want to jump in and add, or any questions that have come up? Meantime, I'm going to find this link too of content
You know, I think one of the big things too that we just need to drive the message home is that all of your blogs should have some kind of, any content should have some kind of call to action at some level, you know, at the end, whether it's to sign up for your email list, to send them to a download, whether it's to purchase a product, because as you have a reader, and even if it's a soft call to action, there's always an opportunity for you to capture something as you're building that relationship. And I think sometimes that I've read many blogs that have no links to anywhere. So like you were saying, you know, the social share is great, but if you're using an image or you using a visual about Instagram, have them go to your Instagram page. Another way for them to follow you, have them go to your Pinterest, have them sign up. So make sure that you put those links in your blog post and that it's clickable to somewhere, even a service page on your website. So you're using that opportunity when people are there, capture them and try to build that relationship so you can connect them on a much deeper, further level.
Right. And even links to, like you said, even links to the other blogs that you've dived in deeper to specific sections. So within your own site. Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be doing a weekly blab like this each week, same time, same place. We'll be posting a link. Woohoo! Yeah, called Magnet Marketers, how you can become a magnet versus being a bullhorn with your marketing. So we'll be sharing other helpful tips like this and having a deep dive. We'll try to keep it to 30 minutes-ish because I know sometimes we dive in and go a little over so you can get that break. So we'll post the link here below, and I thank you guys for
Mike,
joining
they're trying
in.
to find out how old you are. I would say Mike is nearly, he's got to be about 24 now. I've met him in person, and I would say maybe 24 and a half.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm glad they don't
Anybody
ask
else?
me.
Okay, I got a 21. We're going the right direction, folks. We're going the right direction.
Yeah, there you go. If this was not fair, you would win something right now, Mike.
Maldo man.
But I give it to you in
Don, you have a quick
in
question?
a quiz format. Okay? I think I'm accurate in this. The George Bush, the second one, the president. Okay, his number. You know what president number he was? That's me right now.
Oh, geez, history. I might have to Google that.
That's funny. I don't think I even know the answer. This is Dr. John Bennett. So we're working with him, and you have a quick question?
Yeah, I do, guys. Appreciate. First of all, this is great information. You know, I'm kind of blab jumping here today, and I was just on a blab with Ivan Meisner from B&I.
Ooh,
Edwards are both award-winning authors, and they were talking a little bit about, you know, you guys, your thing is social, and they were talking about how they use social to connect and get their ideas out, and things like that. So I'm going to pose the same question I asked them on the last blab. So when they're developing content for a book or when they're writing a book, you know, one of the things I asked them is, do you look at the market and say, hey, this is a marketable idea, I think we ought to go with that, or do you simply go on things that you're passionate about? So in other words, my question to you is, as you're creating content, and I know, Jessica, we've talked in detail about buyer persona and everything like that, but do you guys find that when it's something that you have a true passion for, that those are the things that you see more involvement or engagement with? How does that work for you in your industry?
Depends on personality, I think. Some people write those inspirational pieces like Seth Godin. It's a thought and a passion and a change, and he's just an agent of change. And other people found really, you know, a lot of success in writing on a how-to and how to, you know, on something that is trending. We just talked about the content code, and he dives into how to amplify content and change it. So for me, it's different for the person and what their writing style is. I find a lot of people have their own unique writing style. Like I like writing more inspirational, kind of more, I don't know, thought-provoking kind of things that go off of, just feeling. Whereas other people find that detailed step-by-step pieces that work well for them. So that's my take on it. But I do use Google Trends to see what is trending and what has come around to see what's going on in the industry. What about you guys?
I think for me, I definitely look what's trending, but I also there's some level of passion of what I'm interested in and what I feel comfortable and confident in talking about. Because I think if it's something that I'm passionate and I'm knowledgeable about it, it's so much easier for me to relate to my audience and sharing that information. So I work a lot with small businesses, and I am a small business owner. So I think that there's, I've been through ups and downs, and I can be, the cobbler in the cobbler's house with my marketing. So I feel like by being able to share that part of that relational, it makes a big difference for me in sharing content. And I think that people can relate a little bit more to that.
Yeah, I think Jenny here in the audience mentioned BuzzSumo, and that's just another good tool for finding topics, finding what has worked for others, because you can put in other domains and see what top content is on their sites. So that's a way to kind of give some, find some information that can be helpful and to narrow those things down. But I agree there with April as well, is that you got to somehow connect with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I use Feedly. I don't know if anybody uses Feedly, but like I'll put in, topics that I follow and that I'm interested in. And Feedly helps kind of generate those ones that are, trending. So Feedly is definitely a helpful tool. But I'm very particular in what I'm very particular in what I follow because of what I'm interested in, because I can't, I understand Twitter and I like Twitter, and I write about Twitter, but I definitely am far from an expert. And if I could choose Facebook over Twitter, Facebook is going to win any day of the week if somebody asked me to talk about that, and same thing with email marketing. That's kind of my first. So I think it really goes with what you're interested in and you can relate with.
So can I ask you guys a question real quick too? This is something that's just kind of popped up, but when you talk about writing then on a specific topic, do you pick X amount of articles that you say, I want to make sure that I have this many in regards to this topic before you move on? So like if your favorite is Facebook and you want to educate on Facebook, do you pick, I want to make sure I have really good thought leadership on Facebook before I move to Twitter and write about Twitter, because then that's my next level? Or do you can even space it out? What is your guys' approach?
It's a great question. I honestly, I probably should be a little bit more organized in my thought process. I think that I tend to trend more what's happening now. I will stick with a 2-part series if you talk about a specific topic and break it down if I find there's too much, because I also don't want to overwhelm somebody and go, oh my gosh, what is this? Especially if it's a blog post and not an ebook per se. I think that, for me, yeah, I guess really that's my point.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was just wondering. I kind of do space it out to a couple for each persona and then kind of move on. But I didn't know if anybody else had another approach with that. So
yeah, I don't know if there's sometimes when I do a series, and I think a series is good to really cover a topic, but I think more in terms of what are the keys that I want to have a footprint for? And then I'm thinking through different titles, so different keyword phrases that are relevant in those. And so I'm trying to, target some similar related ones over the course of time so that body of work in general is built up, so people searching on a certain topic are more apt to find me, based on 7 or 8 different posts, that type of thing. So it's, but I'm thinking about it from a keyword phrase angle, I guess.
Like Marcus Sheridan, they ask, you answer approach. I love his thought process on that. Yeah.
And I saw a question come in here as well
Sure.
that Jonathan asked about as a real estate agent. And, I've worked with some real estate agents as well. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity for content marketing. Obviously, people are not going to be buying a house on a monthly basis, that type of thing, but you can be such a resource. There's people, they want to know how can they stage their house? That's a post. What are the things that they need to do to prepare their house for sale? There's the keys that you can go into about how you transform a room, the essential upgrades to a bathroom, the essential upgrades to a kitchen that help that property sell. There's things from the outside, the exterior. So it's from a real estate perspective, you can offer a tremendous amount of content that helps your community understand that and you're offering good value, but you're offering resources, but ultimately they know that you know what you're doing, that you're showing expertise, and if they want to get their house sold, that's probably gonna be good to contact you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially when real estate agents, they really are their own business when they work for an agency. I mean, each agent, similar to car dealerships, I mean, they're their own business, their own deal. So providing that thought leadership is huge. I know Terrence, that's in the room listening in, he writes for a real estate agent here locally, and he's even written out a series on how what a real estate agent does for you, and breaks down just the key topics. And then, like you said, the resale value, how to improve the resale value, the top things that you can do with that, and really drilled down a lot of the questions that each agent's asked over time. And that's the things that people are searching for, so it helps show up.
I think what you guys are all saying there is that you really create the reality that you're the go-to person. So you are the top in that industry, you're the go-to person. So when it becomes right for that person to engage or do business with you, I say, who else would I do business with? This person knows everything about this, so that's the person I want to connect with. So
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I'm going to jump off.
Great question. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
He's a great resource too. Work with him. So I see Jonathan would like to jump in and ask a question as well. I follow you online. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Jonathan.
My hair's a little bit. Oh dear. Basically, I run a business that gives automates marketing for agents and brokers. But also we do some hand-holding and advisory. And I get a lot of agents and small brokerages that are still resistant about writing local content and really understanding how beneficial it could be for them and their brokerage. Would you have any tips or advice how you can get the horse to drink the water in a way?
I'd say
I had
ROI.
a hard time hearing.
ROI, that's what sells. So, I mean, one thing we didn't really touch on, but I think we all understand, is that the results and the ROI that can be proven is what sells. So if we have some examples of content that's converted and the results that it's bringing for others, and we present that to the person that's not quite sold, so to speak, that's what's going to speak louder than us saying that they need to do it. So we say, here's some case studies on people that have created thought leadership and writing content, and here's the results they've had. Then that's going to speak louder than anything else that we would say to them. So find out what that ROI is to them, whether it's, visits to the website, email subscribers, money, transactions. What is that ROI for them, and show them the results from someone else that's achieved it. Using content.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's we always ask that question in terms of working with a client is what's a client worth to you, and and really kind of figuring out what their goals are, and if it's building an email list. So okay, what's it going to cost to build that email list? Is it is it about I need to send more people to a membership site? Is it search engine optimization for my website? So I think by knowing and understanding that, it will help give you more intel to what kind of content they should be providing, or where to be sharing their content, whether it be on a blog or whether it be maybe going the avenue of social media, or planning events. Maybe it's in-person events. So I think that'll help you by definitely having that understanding. And maybe you already asked that question. Do you already ask that question, Jonathan?
Yeah, I kind of, they have a tendency for understandable. Don't get me wrong, they're commission-based agents and brokerages, so sales are all important because that's how they make their living.
Sure.
But I try and explain to them that short tail isn't going to, they're not going to outgun Zillow, and they're not going to outgun Realtor.com. But also going to really long tail isn't really going to get them results. So I call it medium tail, You
Okay.
aim at local areas, and you write a lot of content in a much more deeper depth than what Zillow or Realtor.com will do, and you can get enough results from that content to make it worth the effort. But it's really hard to explain something without filling it without jargon that basically your client just cannot understand, and they glaze over. But on the other hand, not make it so generalistic that you're almost misleading them, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
You
I
don't
think
want to
one
say
of the
that.
things, yeah, I think sometimes it's really important to also come in when you're talking with a client and making suggestions is also doing kind of an analysis of what's going on. I mean, obviously, you know your industry, right? But if you can give them really good examples of people that are doing it well and people that aren't doing it well, and where there might be an opportunity for them to have a niche in their market, in their market share locally, that would be another way for them to create good content to get noticed for a very specific thing. So maybe it's first time home buyers, or maybe it's commercial real estate, or, so I think if you can help guide them into showing them people that are top in the industry doing it well, but then also guide them into a kind of a very specific place and creating content for it, where there might be an opportunity where it's not inundated with Zillows of the world and that kind of thing, that also might be helpful.
Check out SmartZip. One of our real estate clients uses that, and it's very localized. See the value of your home, see resources that are trending in this market, and they have help set up email campaigns, and you can lock in your own market there for real estate. So you say, I'm the only person in this area that can market to this list. So check out SmartZip. Our clients have had great success with it, and they have case studies that are already prepared for you, so it may make your sales pitch to them a little bit easier. So check them out.
Oh, that's great.
Sure.
Thanks, folks. I'm going to leave now and let
Yep.
somebody
All
else
right.
join. But thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care, Jonathan. We had a question in here that kind of got pushed down from, I hope I'm not going to say it wrong, but Fabrizio, and he was asking about selling aircraft. What would you suggest?
He's coming in actually now.
Hi, guys.
Aircraft. That's an interesting one.
That sounds fun. Yeah, my dad's a pilot, so I'm all
Good.
about it.
Well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what I already am doing. You tell me what I should be doing.
Okay, so you're selling aircraft. Who are you selling to?
I'm selling to airlines and to ultra high net worth individuals. So both private jets and commercial aircraft.
Okay, who's your decision makers on who's deciding to buy it? Because sometimes they contract out to where the flight attendants and the aircraft are bought out by another company that then it works with.
Well, most of the time it's either the ultra high net worth individual themselves, or their right hand man or woman, or the chief pilot. So it's usually one of those three. And then in the airline space, it's usually somebody within the airline that makes the decision.
Okay. And tell us what you're doing then.
Yeah, how you're connecting with them.
You tell me what I should be doing.
Okay, so I would say first create your buyer personas, and I can give you a sheet in order to do that. And we find out where they're currently going. Yep. Okay, where they're currently going for information. So where are they currently going for information right now?
Well, I mean, most of the time in the private jet space, it's usually through people you know, or a lot of these people do actually search online. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, in particular LinkedIn Pulse. And I'm getting about 4 or 5 calls a week directly from people, either the billionaire himself or one of their decision makers that are in the executive team.
And who's your competitors to it? What are they deciding between whether they choose you? Because they have to buy the aircraft. So what is the decision maker? I know a lot of it's relationships. Relationships will never replace the marketing, but who's your competitor?
Well, there are 650 aircraft brokers active in the world right now. Okay. Now we differentiate ourselves where we trade the aircraft. So we buy and then sell. And then we offer a number of other services around the deal. So we don't just treat the deal as I have to sell a plane. No, there's a lot more to it, because when you buy a plane, you've got to hire a crew. You've got to put it in a hangar. You've got to get a maintenance contract. You've got to put the aircraft into a special purpose vehicle company, register it somewhere in the world where you end up paying not much tax. So there's all those things that are around the aircraft. Because
I didn't know about the last part, but I knew about the others.
No, because you see, people think, I bought an airplane. I really got a good deal. And then they hire the wrong pilot, and he flies the airplane wrong, and then it ends up being grounded for 3 weeks.
Legal, yeah.
So
do you only buy a certain brand of aircraft?
So no. We tend to specialize on the high end. So I don't entertain the aircraft that cost $2, $3, $4 million, because when you do go down that route, the deals take longer to do, and you earn less money. So and those people usually have big egos. So I don't deal with those people. I deal with the ones that have gone past the big ego, and that's why they're up there. And it's a lot easier to deal with those people, and the transactions go through a lot smoother and a lot quicker, and we make more money. So, but it hasn't always been like that. We did linger in the smaller space to start with, and we didn't have much success. So.
I would start with the questions that you're most frequently asked first. Make sure that you have those blogs. Then like a comparison guide blog on deciding on which aircraft to purchase and the difference between those high-end models and the models that you're selling versus a lower tiered model as well. The questions to ask before choosing, to work with someone, the things you didn't think about that you need to have that goes along with your purchase of the aircraft, like you just mentioned, all those, and then break those down into segmented blogs on how to know the aircraft, what to know about your pilots, and
that's all been done. That is all being done and ongoing on LinkedIn Pulse. There's 120 blogs that cover all those subjects.
Do you have it on a website? Do you have it on your own home base though?
No, on the website, which is I'll just type it in here. The website, there is enough information to get you interested, and then we have a series of forms that need to be filled in depending on what situation you're in, whether you're an airline or whether you're a private individual. You fill the form in, the form comes to us, then we schedule a call. And then from the call, we get a more of a thorough understanding of what the need is, not the want, the need. And then from there, because every case is different. So you can't really generalize, even though in the blogging that I've been doing on LinkedIn, I have generalized. And that has been good because it's brought us in coverage with Bloomberg. I was in the Chicago Tribune yesterday. I was in Bloomberg, India the other day. We've been featured in WealthX, Daily Telegraph in the UK. So we've got a lot of media coverage. And it's all come through LinkedIn. So the journalists have contacted me through LinkedIn. And I'm very transparent in the way I go about it, because at the bottom of the blog, there's my cell phone number, my email address. You can contact me direct. There's no secretary or assistant or whatever between me and whoever's out there. And I think that's important. As well as doing the blogging, I do my own podcast show. I do 2 shows, actually. One on Blab every Thursday. It's called Aeroplane Talk. And then I do another one about business, where I interview business people, and that's on YouTube. And the channel's called Living Outside the Cube. So that's what I've been doing. But I'm wondering if there's any other platforms out there that maybe I should be embracing in order to.
So do you use Twitter at all? Have you had any success on Twitter?
No, LinkedIn has been the best one for us. Yeah.
Now, with the articles that you're putting out on LinkedIn, are you also putting those out on your website, your blog, your news area at any point in time?
Well, we can't really put the LinkedIn articles within the website. But bear in mind that the type of business we're in, we're not looking for thousands of people to visit the website. Okay. And I'll give you an example. My blogs are read on average between 200 to 7,000 people. Okay. And you think, wow, 7,000 people. Okay. But the most successful one was a blog was read by just over 300 people, where a billionaire rang me up direct and a transaction happened. So I'm not after thousands of people to read my blog. I'm after the one that will come, do the deal, and I make some money.
But how did he find you?
He read the blog. He read the blog.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend, though, you don't need thousands, you just need the right audience. But the way that the audience is going to find you is through, if they are searching and making comparisons, they're going to do a lot of research before they decide to spend, money on it. That it needs to live on your home base. LinkedIn's great to also put it there, but I would definitely put it on your website, especially if you're not seeing the transaction that you want to happen now. That's just another way of getting them to you.
Yeah. I mean, if you Google certain aviation words, we come up on the front page of Google on a number of them.
Perfect.
And I haven't paid any Google AdWords or anything. It's just been the blog going out there and people searching for specific things, and we just flag up on the front page. So that's been working.
Are you using any video? I mean, you would think like inside of it would be really cool to see.
We just recorded the first blab last week, and now we just need to edit it, have it edited, and that's going to go on the YouTube channel. So that's going to be happening now once a week. We're at a big air show in Las Vegas in November. So we will be doing blabs live about different aircraft. And obviously that's going to gain popularity. So I'm just listening.
Sounds like
to
you're
you
doing
guys.
a lot of the right things.
Yeah, I would just sell the lifestyle too. Get someone in the airplane, living the life. How GoPro. You know how GoPro. You look at a GoPro video, you don't see the nuts and bolts of it. They sell the experience of it because that's what sells for their audience. So if you use that same video approach too and video strategy, that would work.
Yeah, well, so with that, you've got to be very careful because the biggest misconception with private jets is that people think it's a luxury thing. Only the rich and famous use it. But that's not true. Okay. The main reason why people, it's that flexibility. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's 500 airports in the United States, for example, that are serviced by the airlines, but there are 5,000 airports that you can get into with a private jet. So sometimes when you have to go from A to B to C to D, the airport where the private jet can land may actually be closer to your meeting. Mm-hmm. And then you're not depending on the schedules of the airlines. So those are the two reasons why people use private jets. So selling the luxury is giving people the wrong story.
I should tell.
Fabrizio, what is your conversion? Like, are you tracking the conversion? So when they come to your
okay, this is our conversion. When we end up being direct, and this is usually the challenge in this business, is the amount of time wasters that are out there. I get people contacting me and say, oh, I've got a client that needs, and then you discover that I've got a client means he's got a friend that's got a friend.
Yeah.
So, a friend of a friend.
Yeah. So or that my guy, which is the famous one. So when you start to see a chain, and we've been down that route before, we've actually been down that route 350 times and closed 0 deals. Well, when we actually get direct, 25% of the time we close a deal.
Well, that's a pretty good conversion, I would say, for that. But then sell the people that their problem could be easily fixed. Then, I mean, you can still use video marketing, and you don't have to sell the luxury experience, but you have to successfully tell your story. So if you tell the story of here's how, and their goal is to ease the issue of flying, through the traditional means, then tell that story visually.
I mean, I tell you,
but it sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. So I would just keep.
I tell you what happened on LinkedIn, just because maybe other people are having the same problem. In LinkedIn, you've got all these groups. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when I first started, I thought, I'll go into the groups, aviation groups, blah, 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 go in there, see who needs an airplane, and you start contacting people. And then after about 6 months of trying this LinkedIn thing, it just wasn't going anywhere. Because all the people on there didn't know what they were doing. And then I knew what I was doing. And I'm involved with all these other people that I thought knew what they were doing, and then discovered they didn't know what they were doing. As soon as I shifted from going in the groups and interacting with the people to blogging, the type of people contacting me changed completely.
Right.
And
so are you just putting your posts in groups, or are you putting your post as in LinkedIn posts?
Both. Yeah, they go on both. But when I post them in the groups, sometimes the system comes up telling me you're considered spam because you're sending the same message out to a number of groups. So I don't do that all the time, because otherwise they classify me as a spammer. So I've got about 4,100 people following me on LinkedIn right now, which is good enough. So that's what I've been doing, and now trying to increase the following as well. But again, It's not really that much in numbers, but a quality game for me. It's getting to that niche market, getting to those people. And I have about 5-6 conversations with new people every week from LinkedIn.
Do you have any lead magnets drawing people into your sales funnel? And then I guess my question would be what's your sales funnel after you draw people in? Because it sounds, what you said earlier was you're getting a lot of dead leads. So you're getting like a guy who knows a guy. So kind of what's your I think look at some of your lead magnets where you don't want to be perceived as obviously a spammer, but what happens when that lead magnet comes in? How are you continuing to build that relationship? And
well, the first thing we do when someone comes to us and says, I have a friend. Okay, we ask a set of questions to figure out how many friends are there before we get to the end person.
Right.
Okay, so once we figured that out, then the next thing is, okay, well, we need to speak direct. But no, there's no but. Build in. There's an NC&D and fee agreement that goes out, made up by our lawyers here in the UK.
Sure.
And we use DLA Piper, which is one of the largest law firms in the world. And that basically says, if the deal goes through, you get a cut out of what we get. Okay. So that person is now protected. So now they should feel confident enough to open up the way for us to get to the end person. Now, bear in mind that the percentage that number one person is going to make, he will have to worry about sharing it with everybody else.
Right.
Because people come to us, oh no, you've got to give 20% to everybody. We've got the aircraft. We can offer the solution. This is the way we do business. If you're not happy with the way we do business, go and find somebody else.
Here's what I want to do too as we wrap up. I put a blog in here that talks about, because it sounds like your main referral source is word of mouth referrals. So here's a resource on driving. We call it From Word of Mouth to World of Mouth Referrals that I'll put in here. And then also I have a guidebook that's literally step by step on how to set up a relationship marketing strategy that I just posted here as well. So check that out. And then we're all here. Follow us on Twitter. See if that works for you. But it sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. Just fine tune it. Check your results and keep doing it.
The other thing I want to add before we end this is that you have these people that know a guy that knows a guy, but maybe they're a potential for a word of mouth for other people, and maybe they're not your ideal client. So I would really look at that sales funnel piece and see how you can maybe when you're asking those questions, maybe they don't get to your non-disclosure agreement or your agreement piece, but they go down a funnel where you're educating them and they're learning
Filtering them out before,
and you're sharing good information, because who knows, they may not be a client today, but they might be a client tomorrow.
Now, April, the thing is, most of them, 90% of them, absolute waste of time, haven't got a clue. That's the reality.
But they're not a waste of time if they lead to your end person.
Selling aircraft is not a simple thing, okay? You've either got to have a background as a pilot or as an engineer. You've got to understand how the machine works, okay? It's a very elaborate piece of technology, okay? So you've got to know how maintenance works, how airplanes fly, what a good pilot looks like, how a pilot can damage an aircraft. You've got to understand it, and you only understand these things if you're qualified. I mean, I've spent 12 years flying as an airline pilot and umpteen years in the private jet industry. Got 8,000 hours as a pilot, flown all over the world. I know aircraft inside out. I've been flying since I was a kid. So when they come to me, they get a different message than because there's a lot of people in the industry come from the banking industry, or some people come from the real estate industry. I mean, they haven't got a clue.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that point. Just to say, I don't care if I'm buying a vacuum cleaner or a car, how it works. I just want it to work.
Yeah, but you're not spending $60 million on a vacuum cleaner.
Right.
But I'm just saying.
And it's not costing you $5 million. It's not costing you $5 million a year to run. I mean, we're talking.
Are they running it?
Things cost money.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you buy a plane, you got to spend 40, 50, 20, $30 million on the plane. That's step one. Right. Step two, this thing's going to cost you $3, $4, $5 million a year to run. That's a lot of money. So you've got to make sure that you do this thing right. I mean, if you buy a vacuum cleaner, you get it wrong, who cares? You go buy another one tomorrow morning. It's not the same with a jet. Because you buy a jet, you get it wrong, it's going to take you a year to sell your mistake. A year. That's the average. So you've got to get it right from the beginning. So you've got to be very, very careful.
I still think you can get it right, but I think in doing what you're doing, but I do think that if you have these leads coming in, they're attracted to you at some level. So I think there's in some way you can educate them before they immediately fall off the bus.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there may be a way of fine-tuning the way we do stuff when we post stuff out there to make sure that these time wasters don't come to us.
Right. What were you going to say, Mike? I'm sorry.
I just was curious if you can get in front of the right people with some Facebook ads, just to be able to do some specific demographic targeting.
We tried that, but we didn't have much success. We had one guy come through to us, and he kept going on and on. He was going to buy a jet, and he was sending us money the next day. That went on for 6 months. We never saw a penny. So
you'll have some of those, unfortunately.
But I'm told that 57% of wealthy people hang out on Facebook. So they're out there. So you may be right. Maybe we have to continue. Maybe we have to fine tune the Facebook messaging.
Yeah.
I would just look at your whole sales process on the back end of where they're coming in and how you can nurture them and kind of weed out the people that don't deserve that phone call, but still, again, could be potential word of mouth client referral, or then eventually they'll fall off the bus because they weren't the right fit. I'm not sure what tools you're using behind the scene, but I would hate to say that everybody that comes in, I mean, we always, we have dead leads that come in and we know immediately and they fall off the bus after the third content share. However, it's worth testing the waters to see if you can get
You just
farther.
have to segment it. It's like panning for gold. You have to segment your leads from your marketing qualified leads and then your sales qualified leads, because they all are treated different. And then you can spend the majority of your time, nurturing personally those sales qualified leads, but all the others, may not be ready to buy, or they're not the guy. It's somebody that they know that would be.
Well, and
keep doing it.
And the other thing is the relationship piece, because people might be feeling you out for how you, kind of on the back end of how you are treating them and building that relationship. If they're coming in as a cold lead, it's always a potential for a relationship. And, eventually you're building that relationship, that trust, and they do business with who they know, like, and trust. So you never know what it could potentially lead to. By shutting the door immediately, I think it would, if you're getting the traffic, it would it'd behoove you. I would definitely look at that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the amount of my business partner, he's been flying since he was a kid as a hobby. And then he had an events business for 30 years. And he said he's seen a lot of business, because doing events, he did events with many different businesses. And he said he's never seen the amount of time wasters in this business than any other business. It's just, some of the stories I could tell you, it's like, oh, how could this happen? It's just unbelievable, the stories that people tell you.
But I think it also goes back to that, we need to wrap it up, and I know that, but I think it goes back to that sales process. You can automate some of those processes and score those leads and drop them out of the system before you've even really wasted any time.
And that's what we need to do. That's exactly what we need.
But until you care, they won't care. That you have to show that you care more and that you're the expert, and then everyone else will care.
Look, I said,
I agree. I'm not saying you don't.
Here's our agreement. I'm sending it to you. Look, right away. In 3 seconds, you've got it. You're going to make 20% out of what we make. We make $1 million. Right. You make $200,000 for doing what? For just giving me a phone number and a name. That's all you need to do. And then I take care of the rest.
Fabrizio, thank you so much for your insight today. It was really interesting. I hopefully
guys. Thank
take
you.
care.
Thanks
Thank
for being
you.
with us.
Down that. I should have changed the topic on there. But, so thank you guys so much for your time today. We are wrapping it up. I know there's some questions still commenting. Follow us on Twitter. Ask us there. We will be back next week talking about why responsive design. So
same time, same place.
Same time, same place.
Marketing Max won't be here either.
That's right. So we will check out the co-host and put that all there. Taking some screenshots. So all of you give me your beautiful smiling faces. All right. All right. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you for everyone that participated in this active lab. And I appreciate all your guys' insight. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, folks. Take care.
Bye, guys.